Welcome, boys and squirrels, to the Northern Outcast Outdoors podcast, The Outcast, your home for all things hunting, fishing, and ball busting related. Powered by Citizens Hunting Co., A&F Custom Calls, and Out on a Limb Manufacturing.
All right, boys and squirrels, we are back with a riveting episode of the Outcast podcast, episode 10, season 2.
Is it 10?
Coming at you. Yes, don't question me.
Okay.
We have a brother from the eastern side of our world, which technically I think he lives in Maryland. But we have Mr. Brian Pikerowski, Pick Nasty, Pick Diesel. You get to pick what to call him. Pick, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's up, fellas? Good to be here. Thanks for asking me to be on episode 10, season 2. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're no Rotten River. We don't have 10 seasons yet, bud. Okay, calm down.
Yeah. We're not at the decade yet. We just kicked off season 7, so we're on a roll.
That's an understatement. Yeah, you guys have a pretty damn good podcast over there. I know we were just talking about this before you came on. Boers, like, they definitely have the biggest, baddest podcast out of PA, hands down, and I wasn't even going to question that for a second.
Oh, you guys are a staple with the small community that does exist here for sure.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to be part of those guys, and I know we're, like I said, starting on season 7. I've been with the guys for a total of 3 seasons, and it's a great ride. I enjoy getting on the phone, on Zoom, so however it may be, live at the table, talking outdoors, hunting, fishing, anything, dealing with getting outside. So it's been a great journey, and I love doing it.
The one thing I think is really cool about your podcast that definitely puts it above the other ones is your guys' stuff is so polished. Like on your social media, you guys always have like a little preview video, like for the sauna campfire and all that stuff. Like you guys like really got your shit together, which is, yeah, Chuck, we need to get our shit together a little bit better here too. But like,
I mean, you should see these guys work too at the Great American Outdoors Show. I mean, there is like, I've been a part of some of their texting groups whenever they go to that show and some of these things that they're doing. And man, I mean, it is literally like bang, bang, bang. Everybody's in place. Everybody's out just gathering material and content, and I mean they crush it. They work their asses off during that show.
Oh, it's great watching you guys on Instagram and all that.
That week is a grind. Me being south of Mason-Dixon line, I try to get up there as much as I can throughout that week. I usually flex my schedule at work and try to be up there both the front end of the weekend and the back half of the weekend, and then a couple days throughout the week. But we the good thing about the group Rotten River is we have there's 7 to 8 of us at any one particular time, and so we seem to always come up with some good ideas. We work together, we problem solve, and just try to knock out the content as much as we can, and that week is a grind. Everybody should have heard of the Great American Outdoor Show there in Harrisburg, and it's a long week. We put in a lot of hours. Will Miser and Ryan Madera, they do great job with editing the material and putting everything together, and we all chip in. We have a photo thread that we take some pictures, and like you said, Chuck, we communicate through a common thread and just try to get as much information out there during that week as we possibly can for people that can't get there, and you cannot cover that show even in the 9 or 10 days that it's open. I mean, there is so much to see. So if someone wasn't able to get into the fishing hall and see a captain of a boat, hopefully we may have covered that, and they can listen to it and hopefully get some information that they possibly couldn't get while they were there.
No doubt about it. And I like the way you guys do things as far as coordinating where you've been, what you've hit, and then communicating that so you don't double down on somebody. You get kind of material from all the different areas. And, to bring this full circle, that's kind of the same way you guys do with your social media and your podcast. And it just seems like out of the 7 or 8 guys, you don't have a weak link. you know, you hear it, it's pretty cliche, but you're only strong as your weakest link in the group, and you guys just have a solid group. I love what you're doing over there, but we got to get into some fishing and talk and some hunting talk.
Oh, he's bringing fishing back.
Listen, we just recapped a fishing episode, and I was basically scolding these two for even thinking about talking about fishing. But then I started to think, you know, we got Pick coming on, and this guy, we were talking a little bit about the Yakin for Bass Challenge. And, dude, you finish up in the top every year with just purely smallmouth, it seems like. And it's unreal for a tournament that it goes, you know, based on length, that you can just get it done out of a kayak year after year. You're kind of a beast at fishing it as well.
I try. I have a couple little honey holes here in Maryland, and I try to get up to the Susquehanna. The Susquehanna River, right in around the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area, is the smallmouth mecca fishery, and so there's at any one particular day, there's no reason you can't pull out 15, 16, 18, 19 inch. I mean, if you go up there and get skunked, something's wrong. Either the weather is terrible, or something has happened with the water. I try to get out and do the best I can. And I still have one more fishing trip coming up in 2 weeks.
Oh, you hear that, Chuck? He's still fishing.
He has a couple trips coming up that we'll discuss. Okay, why don't you both calm down?
That's all done and over, though.
No, shut up. Fishing is over. Yes, agreed.
It's weird.
What is your fishing trip coming up, Pick?
There's a group of guys. I think this is the 4th or 5th year. We head up to the tributaries off of Lake Ontario for salmon, steelhead,
nice.
And do a 4 or 5 day trip, and basically just try to bring home a bunch of fish, a bunch of salmon. So it's a blast. We're looking forward to it again, and due to one of the gentlemen that we go, his work schedule doesn't allow him to go any earlier. I know the fish, the salmon, and the steelhead are running right now, but again, just due to scheduling, we usually head that last weekend or last week of October, going into the first week of November, and so we're doing that again. So last year was probably one of our best years. We're allowed to keep 3 fish daily up there in New York, and we came home with 41 fish out of the 5 of us. So it's a full day. We get up in the morning, and we have about 9 or 10 different spots in the area in and around Waterport, New York, is where we stay. Yeah. And we try to land some fish, and there are a few times if the fishing's good, we'll just catch for recreation. We'll catch and release. But the group of guys I go up with, we just have a heck of a time. My face hurts at the end of that weekend from smiling and laughing so much. That's a trip that I look forward to every year. And again, hopefully bringing back some nice salmon to fill the freezer with.
Most of the people that I hear of around here going to New York this time of year, going for brown trout. It's funny to hear you say you're going up there for steelhead, because I could tell you 10 people off the top of my head that are going up there for brown trout in the fall, like religiously.
Yeah, I'm not discriminating. We have the king salmon, which the king and the Chinook, I believe, are synonymous. They're the same name. And then you have your steelhead, and then your brown trout. So I believe right now you can have 3 salmon or 1 steelhead, 1 brown on the stringer at one particular time. I believe there's some cohos that run up out of the lake as well. So whatever we hook up on, again, we're trying to fill stringers and bring the cooler home full.
Oh, for sure. The steelhead in PA here up in Erie, they're like just getting started running, but I don't think we've had enough cold days to really get them going. But that's something I used to do a million years ago, but I kind of got turned off just because of the crowding on the rivers up there. It just kind of turns me off being that close to people up there.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that as well. Back when I was in grade school and going into high school, my father and my grandfather and I, we would go up to Pikerowski, New York, and along on the Salmon River. And that was back in the day when you had the the 1 ounce, the 1.5 ounce treble hook and snagging was still legal. I remember it being I catch 3 fish, and it was a tough time for me to drag those 3 fish out. That's how small I was. But to your point, where we go, we don't have the crowds that you do there, where you're talking about up in Erie or over on the Salmon River. This is, if you do get into a group of people, there's always another stream that you can walk down. Sometimes there are days we try to hit a weekend, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or maybe go up midweek and hit Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and try to get midweek. And we really don't run into a bunch of people, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's a plus for me.
That would be a huge benefit to the trip as well. And, one of my arguments for not fishing now is mostly what we do is catch and release at this table. So, I mean, there's an argument to be made that if I shoot a deer during these 10 days, I have meat in my freezer. But if you're doing a trip like you're talking about, going up and catching, 41 fish between you guys, and you split that up at the end of the day, you're coming back with some pretty good sustainable meat. I mean, at the end of the day, you got quite a bit coming back for your freezer as well. And listen, I'm not against it.
It is tough. I'm walking along the streams, and I'm looking at, of course, this time of the year, the leaves are changing. The scenery up there is phenomenal. And there are some times I think about, I should be in a tree stand right now because I know the rut's about ready to kick off. But again, you hook into one of those salmon, and you get 20, 30 pound test line, and it's zizzing you going up the stream. Those thoughts of deer quickly dissipate, and I'm focused on getting this tank to the bank.
Oh, for sure. I mean, plus the picturesque, you're standing in a river fishing, and the leaves are like slowly falling around you on a sunny, nice day. It's hard to be mad about being there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I know what Pick's talking about. You get that scent in the air, and you kind of have that feeling, that little tingle at the back of your neck, and you're thinking, man, I could be in a
catching
tree
a muskie
stand
on the Allegheny River.
Yeah, that's what he's thinking.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking I could be in my tree stand right now. Typically, that's the feeling I get while I'm at work, though, not while I'm fishing. So I guess if I was fishing, it wouldn't be too bad. But these guys give me a lot of hell, Pick, because I was just spent a whole hour talking about how the rods are away.
If you would have seen the text message thread between me and him the last 3 or 4 days, because hey, we should do a fishing recap. We really should. I'm not talking about fishing.
I hate fishing. Fishing's the worst. It makes no sense to be able to talk about fishing.
The whole time. He finally starts having a little fun, and then we get you on the line. What's the first thing he brings up? Fishing.
Hey, good transition time to talk about something else then, huh? Awesome.
Yeah, we can do
Perfect.
that. We can do that.
Slight transition then. So, Pick, I believe you are already on the board for 2022. You have drawn blood.
Yes, I have. I was fortunate. Probably about a month ago. I think it was the 24th of September. I was able to kill doe. Had an opportunity, and man, I've over the last probably 5 years, I've had, unfortunately, a few incidences where I've had made contact with some deer and not been able to put my tag on the deer, which led me down the road of looking at my equipment, looking at anything that I could increase the odds, anything that I can do to increase the odds of me getting that deer and putting my tag on that animal. So I started researching setup of arrows and broadheads and weight and front of center, and a lot of people have been kind of going down that high FOC route, and the ranch fairy, and so I explored that a little bit, and finally came up with a setup that I feel is going to work well for me, and the opportunity arose last month to test that out, and man, I was not displeased at and how my setup worked, and again, draw first blood on doe down here in Maryland. She went less than 75 yards and piled up, so got that kind of like monkey off my back and tested the equipment. So I'm pretty happy and psyched up for the rest of the season. I know it's about ready to get kicked off with the rut. So
No doubt about it. I tell people quite often with my setup, I put a lot of work and a lot of thought process into my arrow setup and whatnot to kind of find like that sweet spot with my bow and everything I'm doing. And kind of the phrase I use quite often is, look, I'm chasing percentage points. Like that's what I'm doing. Yeah. If my success rate with my original equipment's a 79%, I want to make it, 5, 6, 8, 10 percentage points better if I can. If something I can control to make myself more successful, I'm going to do it. So I started building arrows and adding weight and, like you're mentioning, front of center and everything like that. I think personally, one of the biggest things that a hunter can do and make a mistake of is putting all their attention elsewhere and not looking at the arrow. I think your arrow is almost one of the most important parts. Once you have a fine-tuned bow, of course, your arrow comes, I think, number 2. It can make a huge difference because even a well-tuned bow, if you're shooting the wrong arrow and it's coming out sideways, or if it's coming out flapping all over the place, it's not going to always perform at that highest percentage point. Yes, it may work at a 79% effective rate. I want an 89, I want a 99. Eventually, everybody wants 100, right? But that's just not physically possible to get there. Right. But what can you do to get those extra 5, 6, percentage points better? That if you do make a marginal shot, maybe you get an extra 6 inches of penetration, and instead of it stopping in one lung, it penetrates through into the second lung. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Yep.
I think recently the last 5 to 10 years, the kind of glorification of the Western hunting has really brought around people putting FOC. Yeah, well, you need to have that heavy FOC. You need to have this. Well, we're not hunting elk around here. And I think a lot of people fall into that trap, myself included. I switched to a heavier broadhead last year, and I think it actually negatively affected me trying to kind of chase that because I shoot a harder pulling bow, So it was kind of one of those things, but I think that sometimes people get that enamored in their brain about that FOC because that's kind of a recent phenomenon, with people really pushing that, and it's, guys are pulling, maybe 60 pounds and, shooting whitetail around here that it's actually hurting you more than it's helping you.
I think it's a hot topic item, and it's a buzzword for sure. It is. It's been most recently brought and thrown around. The problem is I don't think you can take it and say this is a one-size-fits-all.
Absolutely not.
If you do this, it will fix everything no matter what, and I don't agree with that. I think everybody's setup and everybody's bow acts differently, and that's what I mentioned about myself finding my own bow's sweet spot.
Yes.
How heavy I need to be, what percentage FOC I need, and putting all the numbers into place and then doing the calculations and coming up with a good result. And that's where I've been so happy the last 2 years with result. I mean, I have not gotten a pass through on an animal since I've started with this whole journey. So far it's working. My arrows are flying true. Everything's flying good. But I want to know, Pick, when you started to get into this, obviously there's a lot of research involved. You don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I want to build a heavy arrow, and you know what you're doing. So where did you start? How did you come up with what your sweet spot is and what your build looked like?
I just, I agree with everything that was just said. I think that, you have to look at what you're going to be hunting, what you're shooting, how well you're shooting it, and then kind of fine tuning it. So I was shooting 100 grain broadhead with a total of about a 460 grain arrow. I think my front of center was 8%. 9%. So, not even double digits. So I just tweaked everything. I after last season, I completely stripped down the arrow. I went so far as to even change the helical of my fletching. I was shooting a helical right, using an Arizona Easy Fletch. And again, in my journey of just trying to educate myself and uncover every bit of information I could, I found out that it's there's one or two bowstring manufacturers that twist their strings in a certain direction. All of the others, and I can't remember if it's a left twist or a right twist, but if you bare shaft your arrow, again, it's a high percentage. I can't think of exactly. It's going to twist to the left coming out of your bow. So, they were saying, why don't you use if your bowstring is automatically having your arrow come out left, why would you have your helical right? So I went to a left helical. I added a 50 grain insert up front. Fortunately, the spine that I have was a 300 spine, so it was the correct spine. I didn't have to change anything like that. I'm shooting a Matthews Verdicts at 75 pounds, and my draw is 29-inch draw. So went with a left helical, added some weight up front. Actually changed my knock. I went from the regular S knock to a micro knock by Easton, which dropped like 8 grains on the back half, and added a heavier broadhead. I went from 100 grain to 125 grain. So my current setup, again, it was like 461 or 462 at 9% FOC. I'm shooting 495 grain at 15% FOC. I needed to change my my sight. I have a Spot Hog Fast Eddie XL, but I'm still not dropping off as a lot of people say. You really get that drop off at 40 plus yards, but to your point, we're hunting whitetail. We're not out west shooting 50, 60, 70 yards. So that 20 to 30 yard whitetail shot, you're probably not going to see that drop off, or that arrow tail off at longer distances. And I went to probably the what I consider the Mac Daddy of broadheads is Iron Will Outfitters. They make a variety of different broadheads that are made out of A2 tool steel, which is, from what I read, it's the steel that they make ball peen hammers out of. I mean, I don't think anything gets harder than a ball peen hammer. No. So that blade is not gonna. It's solid. It is a solid broadhead, two blade. They make a vented blade, and then they make a solid. I ended up getting the solid. So that thing is just. It looks, I don't want to say crude. It looks like old style. It's just a flat two bladed broadhead with a little tiny bleeder. So it's not anything fancy or high tech, or it looks like it has some high tech engineering in it. But man, the thing just works. That doe that I killed, complete pass through. I did slice one of her ribs, and it's stuck in the ground about 6 inches behind her. And I ended up, because the broadhead is simple, you can resharpen that blade. Iron Will Bill, as they call him, Bill, the owner, has a lifetime warranty on those broadheads. If you bend it, or in a hunting situation the blade gets gnarled, he will replace the broadhead. So I thought, we're spending $1,500, $1,800 on a bare bow, $350, $400 on a sight, $200 on a rest, and then we're throwing a $10 broadhead on the tip of our arrow. Yeah. Like that's the most important. That's the point that penetrates and is the first thing that hits that animal that you're hitting. So why not spend the time to get the best broadhead that you possibly can. And that's what I did. So I'm happy so far with it. I'm looking forward to hopefully kill a couple more deer, and hopefully next year get to take it out west and see how it does on an elk. So that's kind of the plan next year. So I wanted to get this set up under my belt, shoot it, get comfortable with it, and then hopefully have no reservations going out west next year.
Yeah, now you were building a setup, and then if I remember this correctly, you won a custom arrow build as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did. Vector Arrows, which is a tremendous company, small group of guys that really all of the things that I just talked about, having front of center, making sure that the arrow, the spine is spine aligned. They do all that for you. You basically go online, put in your specs of your bow, your draw length, and they make an arrow set for you. So I had just gone through, spin testing. In addition to changing everything that I did with my arrow, I took a broadhead and spun tested every single arrow and batched them out to make sure that I was putting the straightest arrows that I possibly could in my quiver. And I shot every single arrow with a broadhead into foam to make sure it flew right. Got my quiver loaded, and then these vectors showed up, and I'm like, oh man, what am I gonna do? I want to shoot these things, but I knew that what I had in my quiver was kind of semi-field tested. So I kind of have those as backup arrows, and I think what I'm planning on doing with those is after this hunting season, I'm going to take the arrows that I have now, screw on 100 grain field point, and they're going to be my tack arrows, my total archery challenge arrows, and then I'm going to go through and set up those vectors to hopefully be my killing arrows.
That's awesome. I know this year at TAC's, bringing that up, that was actually when I finally got to meet you. We've been following each other on Instagram, I think, for a couple of years now at this point, but it was cool to finally put a face to a name down there.
Yeah, I kind of felt like a celebrity. I mean, you walked over, you're like, "Hey, Pick," and I'm like, I recognized you as well from in our pod community, out there community, and so it was. I wish we could have got up and got caught up and do some shooting together, but man, that event is just the magnitude of that event.
Oh, yeah.
Is huge. So unfortunately we couldn't get together and shoot, but. Yeah, that event, I'm looking forward to that already next year.
Oh, that's a big date on the calendar every year for us now, for sure, after the last 2 years of doing it.
They definitely burn and turn you up there, too. Like you said, we were both kind of there last minute trying to get on the lifts. And
we were waiting for Kent as well. It was.
We were waiting for a buddy that was kind of running late. And I think I've even told the story before, but it was hilarious that
we were outside of the Black Rifle.
Yeah, we're kind of standing there waiting, looking around, and he's like, "Is that Pick Diesel over there?" And I looked over and saw this other guy.
Yeah, you'd just bent down to grab a can out of the cooler or something.
Yeah, and I looked over and I saw another, and I'm like, "That ain't Pick Diesel." And then I looked like 3 guys to the right, and there you were. I saw the Badlands before I saw you. I'm like, "Yeah, that's Pick Diesel, all right."
Yeah, everybody knows I'm a Badlands fanboy.
Was that a recording you just hit there?
That was our soundbite.
Yeah,
shameless plug.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. But no, that is a good event, man, and it's a lot of fun. Next year, we're gonna really have to get the groups together and coordinate something in some kind of fashion. I know it's really hard with registration.
Yeah, we had trouble just getting our group together.
It's so bad, but if we can try to figure something out ahead of time and at least have a game plan or some kind of close time,
or meet up after something.
Yeah, that way we can better situate and run into each other, because I know you guys were done with your course way ahead of us, and then you went on and did kind of the elk course as well, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that event again is phenomenal, and it gave me another level of confidence with the bow, shooting out 70, 80, 100 yards at some targets. Yeah, and then you draw back on a 25 or 30 yard shot, and it's like the pin is minuscule, and you can just drive tacks. It feels like at that distance. So, but one thing that if you talking about registration, there's a Facebook page, Total Archery Challenge Shooters, and there's a gentleman on there, Rob Chilinsky. Just for general information, if you reach out to him on that Facebook group, he bend over backwards to try to get you the course that you want with the people that you want. He's a great resource. I think he's out in Western Pennsylvania, close to where you guys are.
He's a bit more south of us. I almost bought a couple of the old TAC targets off of him. He had some for sale this year, and I got that off of a podcast. You mentioned that on your end as well, and reached out to him after that and saw he was on Facebook and connected with him. And I've talked to him a few times, but that is honestly a great resource to have, because we talked to somebody.
I will say, when I emailed, I found an email because we had to switch but we shot both days. I wasn't there the second day, but I had emailed just their support, and they emailed me back within, I think, a couple hours, like the same day. And they were like, hey, what do you need? And then like, they're like, cool, this is what you got to do. And then it was, they were actually like very accommodating, surprisingly.
Yeah. I haven't had, nothing but good things to say about that shoot, that event. Again, Pennsylvania, I believe, is one of the largest, if not the largest TAC in the country. They run it 4 days, where I think other venues, they only run 2 to 3 days. So the amount of people that go up and down that mountain is significant. So for everybody to run that event, it's run as smoothly as it could be run.
I think they told us the Utah one is the biggest one, and then PA is the second biggest.
Yeah, because that Utah one, I think, is like the
HQ.
Original. Like that's where everybody, like kind of where it began, and that's like the big event. But I still don't know if they run it as many days as they do in PA.
I don't know for sure. I mean, if you think about it, though, the state of Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, Maryland, West Virginia,
New York.
I mean, I think the next closest one was, they went to Michigan after us, I think is what it was.
Yeah, I think there's one in Vermont, and then there's one in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I think those are the two closest to PA. The gentleman that I shot with, we went up to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and shot the elk course. He was from New Jersey. He has a buddy that I think he was in the military. He lived in Central Ohio, and they were supposed to meet up together, and something happened with work, and he ended up going himself and hooked up with him. And I shot with Harry from New Jersey. So it draws people from all over the East Coast, if not the country.
I know the last year we shot, the group behind us was from West Virginia. We talked with them. They were all cool. And the dudes in front of us were I think they were from New Jersey as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, the whole group in front of us. And then there was those guys from Ohio that were with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, West Virginia is like a skip across the.
It's close enough.
But I mean, think about those states and how many people bow hunt.
Oh my God! This is like the hunting mecca of the eastern United States for whitetail. It
really makes sense that we draw one of the biggest crowds, in all honesty, because there's just so many of us all trying to get into this little event, and they do a really good job down there. But I'll tell you what, if you're ever going to want to try to hunt elk, that elk course has to be a huge benefit. I mean, how many opportunities you get to shoot at full size elk targets, you know what I mean? And from different distances and different angles. And I mean, that had to be a huge, like you said, confidence booster for what I believe you mentioned you are looking to do an elk trip soon.
Yeah, it was. That was definitely, a course that was on my radar to shoot. We met up with some people. We signed up with some people and shot. I think it was the Black Rifle Coffee Company course, and then I definitely wanted to get on the mountain and shoot at an elk. And it was awesome. Like you had said, you had bedded elk, you had standing elk, you had some of those the mini elk. I think Reinhardt makes a mini elk that was tucked in some of the woods. I think the longest shot on that course was like 121. I mean, it was ridiculous. Where I with my spot hog, even with my second pin, I was at like 110 with my second pin, and I'm just like, all right, let her rip. They held it at its back, and I did hit foam. It would have drawn blood, but it was not a fatal shot. I hit him in the above the knee, I think it was, on the back leg. But it was awesome just to get out there, and those elk are pretty much life size. So you're shooting at the vital that you would be on a real elk. So it was awesome. I'm really looking forward to trying to get out there. Lord willing, next September, if gas isn't $8 a gallon and I'm still healthy enough to climb up and down the Colorado mountains, I'm going to try to get out there. It'll be next year I will be turning 50. So I know that
you don't look 50, man. For real. Insane. You really don't.
Yeah. I know that Father Time is against me, and I want to try to get out there. I've been putting it off, and I'm just like, I'm determined to get out there and do it for the first time. And I think once I do it once, it's going to be like an every 2 to 3 year trip. So my wife and I, and her family, we vacationed out there 2 years ago in Colorado just to sightsee and, go to Rocky Mountain National Forest. And man, it is phenomenal, just like speechless looking at the topography. And, we saw moose, we saw mule deer, we did see some elk. I wanted to get back there. And, I think that kind of was like the catalyst that said, I got to pull the trigger. And then on top of that, every year we get older, our body starts to deteriorate again. I'll be turning 50, and we did some hikes out there at 8,000, 11,000 feet. And I'm like, man, I want to be as young as I possibly can to get out there and try to do that before, I'm physically unable to. So, Lord willing, next year, I'm going to take a trip out with a few guys, and as of right now, maybe hire an outfitter to pack us back about 4 to 5 miles, set up a base camp, and then just kind of like hunt some over-the-counter grounds, some land from that spike camp. So again, that's the plan. We'll hopefully it'll come to fruition, and I'll get out there and try to chase some elk around.
Hell yeah, man, that's awesome. I'm jealous.
Yeah, as am I.
Because we got straight up cheeseballed out of 2 years of going out there for elk for COVID, gas, and then this last time to Montana for gas again. We were going to go hunt turkey last spring, and we got cheesed out of that. Yeah,
we're going to get out there next year somewhere. I don't care what it takes. We're going to go somewhere. I'm 100% in. Whether it's turkey hunting, whatever, I don't care. But man, I mean, like you said, you get into that one day crowd, the one day I'll do it. Next thing you know, you're looking back at, like you said, and I'm like, man, I wish I had 10 years back that I should go try to do this thing with 10 more years on my life. So, at our age, it's time. We got to quit, putting it off one day, because you'll never make that one day happen.
Never mind the age either, too. I mean, we're kind of at the point where, like, the next 10 years, there might not be hunting out west for all we fucking know at this point. Like the ecology just might not be there. They might, shut it down out of staters, because the way they're changing their over-the-counter stuff in a lot of these states, they've been making it harder and harder for out-of-staters to come out there, which I get it, but who knows at this point?
Yeah.
I subscribe to it's called the Elk Collective. It's Jason Phelps, Dan Staten, and Dirk Durham, and they have a tremendous online resource of videos and books and educational, talks on e-scouting. And one of the gentlemen from Go Hunt, he did a talk out there, and they were talking about point creep. And, he said so many people are putting in for points and hoping to get that, may take 10 points to get to a particular area. He said in 5 years, that 10-point unit may be 16 points, 18 points, 19 points. So he said, you continue to put in. He's like, you may not get a chance. He said, and this is a gentleman that does this for a living. He tries to get people tags to hunt big game out west. He said, if you have 8 points, he's like, hunt a 4-point unit, hunt an 8-point unit. Just get out and put boots on the ground and do it, because under the certain circumstances, like, we just talked about with the economy and with COVID, that kind of drove things up. People are purchasing preference points, and they're not going out and burning those tags. So those points just continue to stack, and this creep starts to set in. There's some 18, 19 point units out there that I will never be able to get to see at 50 years old. I'm just going to try to get in the woods, do a few over-the-counter hunts, and see where elk hunting takes me. There are some opportunities. Colorado's one. Idaho is still over-the-counter. They changed their the way that you acquire the over-the-counter tags a little bit. Montana, I believe, is still a tag or a state where you can fairly easily get a tag. So. We'll see what happens. Again, Lord willing, I'll try to get out there and just at least take my bow for a walk and maybe blow on a bugle tube and see what happens.
Say you did it.
Yeah, right.
The elk stuff really does intrigue me. It's something I want to do really quick here. It's
just insane how expensive it has become.
It is very expensive, and
it is tough to eat for regular jack-offs like us that work a 9 to 5, like, you know, an every year thing. Like, yeah, if you live by yourself in your parents' basement and don't have any kids, Sabelli,
What?
you could,
What's happening?
you could maybe afford to do that every year, but like even every other year would be a stretch for me. In all seriousness, you know, that's more expensive than my daughter's trip to Disney World. You know, like for what?
Yeah, I've been collecting gear for such a hunt for probably the last 4 years.
Yeah, and that's another thing you got to do, like take into consideration too, is the gear out there, and that if you want to have shit that's not gonna like fail you in a potential situation where your actual life is depending on it, you know, you can't cheap out on that shit either.
Yeah. So, you know, the word of advice, if you're anybody out there listening, don't, like Chuck said, don't put it off. You know, pick up something, you know, some gear now for 4 years from now. So that way you won't have to drop 6, 7, 8 grand on just gear before you even hop in the truck to get out there.
Yep.
One of the things that Jeff and I did, because we were doing that when we were planning to go elk hunting, and we started buying stuff 2 years ahead of time. And the packs, we probably spent too much money on going with Kafaru right off the bat. But that's something that I use around here. Now that I have it, I find myself using my like pack frame for so much shit now. Like I put my climbing stand on it, and it's so much nicer using that. Like I use the crap out of that now. So I mean, there is some crossover between, you know, that gear out here still, you know, on top of all that.
Yeah, we'll just say that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Before I, you know, had the private ground that I hunt now in Maryland, when I first moved to the area from Northeast PA, I lived in West Virginia, and I did the public land hustle. There's a place called Sleepy Creek Wildlife Management Area. It's like 20,000 acres. I packed in a climbing stand and, you know, knocked on doors and got, you know, as much permission as I could on some ground. And, you know, that stuff won't just sit in your closet. If you have it, you'll find a use for it. Like you said, you know, doing other hunts.
Well, that's just going to be my excuse. We'll just say that I'm building gear up all these years.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I built up all the gear, and I never made it out there.
Oh, man. But it is, I mean, it's definitely going to be a fun trip for you. I hope you guys get to go. I hope you do it, because I think you'd have a lot of fun. Like you said, that kind of style too, kind of getting packed in 4 to 6 miles and having a spike camp and kind of hunting and living out of that camp. That would be an absolute blast. It's almost like a drop camp, I guess, in a way. I guess it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that would be the way to go if I ever, you know, ventured out that way. But what do you think, Sabelli? You ready to hunt elk?
I concur with everything that's been said so far.
So Sabelli just got his first ever bow.
They bullied me into archery, and I'm semi grateful for it. I held out as long as I could. I'm still a new hunter. This is going to be my 3rd year hunting, and they've been mentoring me into the wonderful world of getting out there into the woods. And tomorrow actually will be my first day of archery. I'm going to sneak away to a little spot and just sit around for a little bit and see what happens.
Sweet. That's awesome. What did you get for your first bow?
Well, see, Chucky.
See, he's getting the very unfair experience. He didn't get to like suffer with someone's hand-me-down freaking PSE.
We tried. In all fairness,
yeah,
we tried.
We definitely
Chucky
did.
was trying to get me on one of his older bows, and it just didn't work out. So I just said, well, we'll just go ahead and get a Matthews and just jump right in.
All right, that's not a bad choice.
I believe it's the V3
X.
No, it's not the X one.
Yeah. Oh no, you didn't go with the X.
31.
No, yeah, I went
That's
with the
right.
30. Yeah, the 31.
So the V3.
That's a great choice, man. Great choice.
Yeah, I like it. We were just shooting and sighting it in a little bit earlier, and I'm semi-confident that if I trip over an animal tomorrow in the woods, I might be able to kill it.
He's like that kid in high school that the dad bought like the Mustang for. Everybody thought was like real cool. You know, it was his first car.
Then you find out I flipped it and drove it over a cliff.
Yep.
So tomorrow I'm just hoping to get in and out of the woods in one piece, and that'll be the first day.
That's sweet. That's how we all started, man. Back in the day, you just to get out there and just do it. And every time you go out, you learn something not to do the next time.
Oh, I've learned plenty of not what to do for turkey and deer over the last 2 years.
I mean, that's what I told him, Pick. I was like, look, man, just get a bow. I don't care. And I even told him, you know, go buy a crossbow for this season, because obviously look where we're at. We're mid-October. Yeah. He just got his bow in, you know, but definitely I would say I have confidence in him right now, just with kind of tuning him up in the yard that he can kill a deer with that setup up out to 30 yards confidently. I mean, we're talking 2-3 inch groups out to 30, putting them in there at 20. And I'm like, all right, I think you're okay, but dude, just go in the woods and learn. You have to learn woodsmanship.
Yep.
You have to see it all. You have to experience it firsthand. This is not rifle hunting. This is not turkey hunting. Those two can both be very fast paced and, exciting. This one's, you're in the natural element. Deer are doing their thing. It's slower.
You're zenning out.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see a deer doing deer things for the first time.
You might not see a deer doing deer things in, your vicinity for days on end, and it will mentally try you in different ways.
As long as I come out of tomorrow with no videos surfacing online of a mountain lion walking me down.
Oh yeah,
I should.
It's
a win.
Did you guys see that?
That dude did. If that was me, first of all, I wouldn't even pull my phone. I would have emptied the entire magazine into that thing.
Yeah,
but because
that was in Iowa, wasn't it?
It was out west somewhere. Yeah.
There was. I think there's two videos.
Yep.
Yeah, there's two videos. One, the gentleman had it looked like a Glock out walking backwards with his gun drawn. There was another video in Iowa, of all places, where a gentleman is in his tree stand archery hunting, and a mountain lion is 8 yards. Yeah.
It didn't even see him either. That was the crate. The wind must have just been right. He got lucky. But that's another thing. Like, dude, just shoot that damn thing.
Yeah.
Just shoot it, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know how close Iowa is to state. It could have been western Iowa. We're talking about near the Dakotas, I believe. But man, still.
The hunting public had that one video. Was it Nebraska?
I think they were either Nebraska or the Dakotas, and they walked up on that sleeping mountain lion. And that just popped up on my phone the other day, and I watched it again. Like, they posted like a top 5 craziest moments.
It was early fall. Like, it was still pretty green out, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, and it was a mountain lion sleeping like that, and then when you stalk up on it, it pops up and looks at you.
Yeah, hell no.
Yeah. There's not very many animals that I'm afraid of in the woods. That is one of them.
Yeah, I've heard some stories from a buddy of my dad's from back whenever he would go out, and he was a pure mountain man, and he would go out without a gun, and more than once he had been stalked by mountain lions.
Jeez.
And that's what he said. If there's any animal in the woods that scares me, it ain't the bears, it's the damn mountain lions, because he just turned around at one point, one sitting in the middle of the trail at like 30 yards, staring at him. That shit is not cool.
Well, that's how they hunt, is they wait for you to walk by, and then they ambush you from behind.
Or from above.
That's what I mean, above and behind, yeah.
Nope, I'm out. I like being an apex predator.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the dude with the Glock that was backing up, he actually shot. He did shoot.
Shot twice.
He was missing by a mile, so I don't know if he was intentionally, but I don't think he was missing intentionally.
No, I don't think so. The first one, I don't think he intentionally missed. The second one, he may have intentionally missed.
Yeah,
I feel like watching that video, he was probably more geared in on watching the phone screen as he was recording.
Dude, put that damn thing down. You're about to die.
I think in his mind, he thought, I'm about to die, and I want whoever finds my body to see this recording of what happened. Like, how did I go out? I don't want there to be any questions.
Oh my God.
I fought a mountain lion and did not survive, and that's what I think he was going for.
That thing gave me anxiety watching that, because you could hear him breathing like,
oh yeah,
like, dude, put the damn phone down.
What was crazy is the lion didn't even, after he shot the first time, it stopped.
Didn't even
and
fucking
continued
blink.
to
It didn't even blink.
That's crazy.
That second shot didn't rattle me either.
No, it really didn't. It really didn't.
Jeez, man. No, I'm out. No, I'm good. I don't want to go hunt elk. I'm out.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't quite think of yet. We're thinking about or looking and see if we're going to be in bear country, and I don't know if I have the largest caliber that I could carry conveniently is a 9mm. I don't know if a 9mm is enough. So
you're better off with bear spray, I think.
I think both.
Yeah.
If you have you can get some 124 grain hollow points. You got a couple more bullets in there. Just keep squeezing. You'll stop it. No doubt. No doubt.
Well, I heard it somewhere else that, somebody that actually deals with like the biology of the wildlife out there and with the big bears, and a lot of things they see is most people that get mauled and killed by bears, they find that bear with bullet wounds in them.
Yeah.
Either they died from them or survived the wounds, but most of them,
I'm still going down shooting.
Shoot yeah, I
I'm
agree,
still going
100%.
down sending
But
hate.
at the end of the day, they said that the bear spray is semi more effective, but at the same time, it's best to have both.
Yeah, I believe
So,
it. I mean, it's not going to hurt you to carry. Like, it's not going to be like some massive inconvenience to have both on you.
I would have both if it was bear country. I mean, it's a little different. Like around here, our bears, I have zero fear. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's fear when I see them and they're like at the base of my tree a few years ago, but I don't have really fear because they're hunted hard here. Like,
yeah, they're a little more timid.
Other than running into one with cubs,
yeah,
that would be my only fear. But in a normal hunting situation, in archery or rifle, if I run into one, they catch my wind, whatever. Other than maybe if I'm beating through brush and I get mauled in the middle of it, whatever. That's my calling. But I don't really fear them too much around here anyhow. But it's different. That's a total different situation.
Well, my cousin Nick, you were up at the camp when he was telling about his bear he got last year. He actually fell through this like rough cut slash. They were like hiking over in bear season, and he actually fell through the brush down into a bear nest, came
a den.
The den, and came face to face with the bear like 10 feet from him. Sweet. In the hole. We need to get him on to talk about that because that's actually like
that would
completely
be fun.
insane. But he like dumped every round in his 45-70, at the hip, like at this thing, because he fell down there. He just saw this lump turn around and look at him, and he's like, "Holy shit!" and just started shooting. Because his buddy that was with him was like, "Yeah, I saw you. I heard you like make this noise, and then I couldn't see you. Then all of a sudden, I just heard the gun start going off, and they like had to like." He was telling me a story. It's wild. We'll have to get that on a different episode.
Let's get it on for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know, Pick. I think if you get in a fight with a mountain lion, bear, whatever, you just get them like in a leg lock. You'll be fine, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they might take me.
You think so? I don't know, man.
Well, there's that dude that just choked one out last year. He choked one out. I think it was in Colorado.
Give them a run for their money for maybe a half a second, but yeah.
That solid second of power, and then you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, well, it was fun.
Yeah. As you see the tables turn, you're like, oh, this was a bad idea. Oh man, good stuff. Well, again, I really hope you do get out there. And I don't know, did we kind of just comb over the whole fact that you shot a deer this year? We didn't really talk about the hunt at all, did we?
I mean, we heard he killed it. That was about as far as we got.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hear a story from you. What went down? I know you, and I like the word you chose, sliced through a rib. With that's
delicious.
That sounds good.
Well, if you see those broadheads, that wouldn't surprise you.
Yeah,
if you were using the iron wills.
Sliced is a correct terminology. But let's hear a little bit about it, man. What went down? Little September kill.
Yeah, it was got in the stand. It was 7:30, so it had been light for half hour, 45 minutes, and actually the doe, I don't know, the first doe that came in actually came running in. I don't know whether it was spooked or she was just running to get into the area that I was sitting in, and so I heard the deer running through, grabbed my bow, turned and looked, and by that time the doe was already in front of me, and saw a second doe behind her. So I focused. The second deer was a little bit bigger of a deer, so focused my attention on her, and she came in, and out of the corner of my eye, I looked back, and there was two more deer coming. And in the spot that I was hunting, I had pictures of 5 different buck, and they were shooter buck. One was a 9-point, one was a heavy 8. And when I turned to my right and again saw these deer coming, they were about 75, 80 yards into the woods, I paused and made sure that I didn't see any rack. The third deer I did ID as just a spike. And then the fourth deer, which was further back into the woods, I saw had a small half rack, whether it be a 2 up or 3 up, I wasn't sure. And when I identified those as not being a rack buck, it was game on. That the doe came in front of me and stopped, turned, and went back around. And as she did so, she did kind of like look up into the tree, as they all do. And I just like froze. I was already hooked my release on. And I just, in my head, I was like, don't do it. don't do it. I was telling her, don't do it. It's okay. It's okay. Don't do it. And she calmed down after about 5 or 6 seconds, started to walk. She kind of knew something was up. I don't know if she caught scent of where I had walked in, because she kind of got to exactly where the trail that I had walked in and stopped. And that's when she turned around. So I think she knew something was up. But she ended up walking back to the trail that she came from, and there happened to be a tree. And when she walked behind that tree, I drew back. She continued to walk from behind that tree. I did the obligatory brap. She stopped, and I whacked her. And it as Brian, when you start getting out there into the woods and experiencing all this, you're going to find out that repetition just sometimes takes over. You go on autopilot, and I think I problem solved in my head as I drew back. I hit my collar, and I had to, like, with my thumb, move my collar out of the way so I can get my anchor down. And then when I buried the peep and the sight on her, I had the whereabouts to think, well, she's probably less than 20 yards, and she kind of is on edge. I'm going to hold this shot right in her crease low in case she does jump the string. I'm going to at least get into a vital, and if she doesn't and she stands there, I'm going to heart shot her. So I released it, complete pass through, ran off. And I don't know if either one of you guys have killed a deer this early in the year, but man, there is a lot of green in the woods, leaves, tall grass.
It sucks, my guy.
It does. So when I looked at the arrow with my binos, and knew, like, I just right away, as soon as I released it and I saw where the arrow went, I'm like, that's a dead deer. I just had that confidence. Examined the ground with my binos from the tree stand, waited about 8 or 10 minutes, slowly got down, walked over to the arrow and examined the arrow. And when I looked, I just saw blood going through the high grass. And again, the high grass can be a good thing because the blood is all over the place. You can't miss it. And it can also be a bad thing because you can't see the deer. I mean, you're walking through the woods, and if you're in an area, we had the farm that I hunt. My in-laws' farm was logged about 4 years ago, so it's starting to grow up and get some thick areas. And as I'm walking through there, I see blood, and I go 15 yards, and I go 20 yards, and I go 25 yards, and I'm at 30 yards, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, where is this deer? Like, I got to the point where I'm like, I know she's dead. I don't want to bump her. And let me rewind. After getting down and looking at the arrow, I kind of sat there. I didn't want to, push it. Text my wife, text my dad, my father-in-law, the R2 guys. And it was about 25 minutes, close to 30 minutes after, I had shot her. I started on the trail. And when I got to about 50 yards and not seeing this deer, but seeing the amount of blood that was laid on the forest floor, I thought, man, like, do I need to back out? Like, I started having second guesses, like, on my hit, but your mind plays games with you. I know it was a great hit. There's tons of blood, but I don't see her. And no sooner did I start thinking that into my head, I looked over to my left, and there she was laying about 12 yards from where I was standing. So again, that grass was just up. I just couldn't see her through the woods. So if it was, October, end of October, early November, I probably would have been able to see her go down from the tree stand. But, with the green and the grass still on in the woods in mid-September, it just was tough. So, that was it, man. It went as well as an archery hunt could have gone. I mean, just the way that she came in, turned, got her stopped, perfect shot, passed through. It just, the recovery, it just was a great hunt. So, hopefully it's going to continue to, roll like a snowball from here, and planning on, continuing to hunt here in Maryland. And then after my salmon trip, which is in 2 weeks, last year I did this as well. I go up and fish for 5 days, and on the way back, I stop up in Wyoming County at 3B, and I have what I call my PA rotation. That's November 2nd through the 5th or 6th. I get 4 days in the woods.
Prime time, my guy.
Yeah, PA up there with my dad. I'm really looking forward to every year. The quality of the bucks up there in PA.
Of course, take it easy. Yeah, Maryland's got the big deer. What are you talking about?
The biggest.
We have a few, but in historically, Pennsylvania has not been the big buck state. But man, I don't know, what is it, 20 years now that antler restriction has played a role. It's been a while, but and I think people are getting more educated. They want to see bigger deer in the woods. Don't get me wrong. People want to, if it's brown, it's down. There's still, some certain time of the year. And again, the economy
people, the brown is down is a daily mindset for some here. At this actual table.
Yeah. And that's awesome. I mean, everyone has their own evolution, as a hunter, and, he or she, I have a pile full of, basket rack 6 and 8 points. I just don't want to shoot something like that. And there are times when, I celebrate Passover, as we say, and don't draw back on a deer. And sometimes I regret it. I feel like I get opportunities. I don't think I'm a great hunter, but I feel that I can create an opportunity in the future, and sometimes I get burnt. I don't get an opportunity during muzzleloader season or rifle season to draw back or pull up on another deer. But I just looking forward to getting up there in PA. My dad, man, he actually just left today. My dad will be 71 in December, and man, he is a young 71-year-old. He came down and we hunted here in Maryland on the farm here for the last about 2.5 days, 3 days we hunted. He has put a ton of work on the property up in Wyoming County, up in PA, where he hunts. He has killed some big deer. I've been successful and killed some nice deer up there. He put a food plot in this year, and man, that food plot looks phenomenal. It's got some chicory, some clover. It has some radishes in it, and it just took off. So he runs some trail cameras, getting some big deer on camera. So I am excited to get up in PA and spend some time in the woods with him first week of November. So
that's gonna be awesome.
Heck yeah, dude! I'm also team Passover, so I get it, man. I totally understand.
I am not.
But you don't have a choice, though.
You don't get to be.
You need to get those couple goober kills in.
Although before you leave tonight, we might want to go over their antler restrictions.
If a raccoon by chance gets stuck in some gnarled twigs, there's a chance that I draw on it tomorrow.
Hey, as long as it's a nuisance kill, then you are a nuisance.
Check your regs.
So.
Yeah, check your. Thank you. Oh man, well, don't be so hard on yourself there, Pick. I think you're a great hunter. I think you're gonna do well this year, and I hope for the best for you. But man, I'm excited for you, man. That trip up to PA that you get to do and spend that time with your father, that's awesome. That's
yeah, it's great. So he quick side note, he shot his first buck 2 years ago with a bow. Or I was with archery.
2 years.
Wow. Yeah, it's been 2 years. I was able to get the video camera out, and I videoed some of my hunts, and I threw that video up on YouTube. 68 years old, and he killed his first buck. And life gets in the way. I'm 4 hours from him, and growing up, you hunt together as a young child, and or at least we did, and my grandfather and my dad, and then go to college, and you just don't hunt every year in and out with each other, and lose track of who kills what. And I never realized that my dad never killed a buck with archery gear. And as I was running the camera and had a deer come over to me, which I passed, went over to him. He was able to shoot it. And during the recovery, I asked him that question. I'm like, I know it's been a while since you've killed a deer with a bow. How long has it been since you've killed a buck? And he's like, I've never killed a buck with a bow. And I'm like, holy crap. Like I lost it. Like I got emotional. I'm like, I got this whole thing on film. It was just an awesome experience to share that moment with my dad. And, hopefully we'll continue to make some more memories, again in the woods. He'll be 71 this year. And man, I just look forward to going up there. And again, he came down here this past week sharing the woods with him. So, I got an exciting couple months of hunting coming up both here in Maryland and up in PA.
Best of luck to you, bud. Best of luck. And I don't see a better way to end this one. I think that's we got you running up on time here, and really appreciate you coming on, man. Why don't you give a quick shout out where people can find you, find the podcast, everything else?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, guys. If you want to check me out personally, go to Pick Diesel, P-I-K, Diesel, all one word. Don't forget to follow the podcast, Rutten River Pursuits. We're on every podcatcher that you can think of, RuttenRiverPursuits.com. Hit us up, follow the podcast, Rutten River. You'll hear me on there, hear some adventures, and all of the other guys. Great group of guys that are passionate about the outdoors, and this is a fun time of the year. So if you listen to podcasts, hunting, fishing, outdoor podcasts, this is the time of the year to listen to them.
Oh, for sure. You guys got great stuff, and I really appreciate you guys coming on, talking about you guys. And I don't know what else you got, Chuck.
I think that's it. Any last words of advice for Mr. Sabelli over here?
Help me.
Don't be a sissy.
No, just get out, enjoy it, man. Take it all in. It sounds like you're prepared. You got the right equipment. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, they've been helping me along over the last couple of years, getting me on some stuff. So I'm definitely all in for the long haul.
Yeah, and if you do make a mistake, we've all done it. We've all done it.
More than once.
And whatever it is, like we've done it.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, just make it really epic so we can really make fun of you about it.
I will. I'll try my best.
All right, boys and squirrels. Well, that's it. That's all we got here. Pick, once again, greatly appreciate you, brother. Thanks for jumping on, man.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.